Good morning. I'm just hopping on here. I want to give you guys kind of an update and some things to think about and what's happening right now with House Bill 3075. And so if you guys can hear me, please let me know. If you're tuning in, thanks for tuning in. And so let's talk about this. Let's see kind of where we're at. And looks like we have people jumping on. So I thank you guys for tuning in. And if you guys can hear me, please let me know. And so, kind of what I want to talk about is what the process looks like, what we can do right now as we're waiting, for the shoe to drop, so to speak. And obviously, this is just the beginning phase of the Oregon Legislature, so there's lots of things that are happening up there in the halls. And so there's things that we can do right now to kind of bide our time to make sure that we are ahead of the game when it's time. And so that's kind of what I'm hoping for, and it's hoping that we can clock in and do the work that we need to do. And so that's the whole point of this video. Is if you guys can see this, please let me know. See if I got comments here. So thank you guys for tuning in. So happy Wednesday. Oh, there we go. So perfect. We're in like Flynn. Perfect. And so here's where we're at. So House Bill 3075 is basically a reinvented and regurgitated version of Measure 114. And so something that we have to be aware of is the way it's proposed, if it's, the way it's written, this potentially could put us in a position where it could void the work that we accomplished in state court. And I spoke with Anthony a little bit earlier and kind of got his thoughts on things. So some of this stuff I'm not going to talk about, but there's some things that are really, really relevant to where we're at today. And so thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys have any questions, please let me know, put them in the chat. And so what I'm trying to do is put out content for you to be able to get to your people so we can bring everybody on board. And it seems like our biggest challenge with Measure 114, and there's a lot of people that didn't know about it. And so that's where, we have to do better as gun owners, is educating our people and our circles. And so I look forward to helping you guys with that. Okay. So, what we can do now is, basically the way this is going to work is I feel just from my interactions with the legislature, the way the legislature is working up there, what they're going to try to do is they're going to try to kind of slow roll this. They're going to try to make it look like it's not a big deal. It's like they're not going to push it because they don't want to draw our ire. And so they want to keep us silent. They want to surprise us. They want to be able for us to not take the day off so we can go up and testify or be in the hearing rooms. So what they're going to do is they're not, I mean, obviously we all know they're salivating. They want to pass this. They want this thing to become law because they think it's going to solve problems, but it's not going to solve problems. You and I know this. And so what they're going to do is, they're not going to make it like a priority, even though behind the scenes, we all know that this is a priority. And so that's where we have to, kind of be skeptical of the situation and the system because, obviously they have a super majority up there. And so they literally can do whatever they would like to do within reason. And so, that's why us, what we should be doing now, this is kind of the goal for this video, is to kind of lay out a game plan that we can follow to build bridges up there, right? But also to educate our neighbors, educate the general public, and don't let this one get swept under the rug. Okay. Anthony had a post earlier about, kind of waking everybody up, sounding the alarm. Totally get it. We should be engaged right now. So it's time to clock in. The Oregon legislature is active and they're proposing legislation that would make, all of our lives very difficult. And they say it's public safety. It's not in public safety, because if it was in public safety, they would be making it easier for us to carry a gun in public. They would be doing all sorts of these different things that they're not doing. And so, some of the things that we can do, right, is we can, a good way to educate is write letters to the editor. And so, you know, depending on where you're at in the state, it's important to know, what your newspaper is. It's a free service. You can write a letter to the editor. That's a way for you to get your opinion out about Measure 114 and House Bill 3075. Kind of the way I'm going to start attacking it in my own letters to the editor, because I'm going to write some letters to the editor, is I'm going to talk about the financial impact. Is this session, there's already talks about them raising taxes. They don't have the revenue that they need or forecasted, and so what they want to do is raise taxes. Okay, so my argument to that and what I'm going to put in my letters to the editor is we have $5 million, an estimated $5 million that has gone into defense of Measure 114, which is your taxpayer funds that have been misappropriated and wasted. And so now what they're going to do is they're going to try this again with it's a sleight of hand is all it is. They're going to try a different words, different terminology, different definitions. They're going to clean it up, repackage it, and resell it as House Bill 3075. And so what's happening here, though, is all of that money that was that fight. This is an estimate. I'm working on a FOIA request, and I'm going to get the actual number, and then we'll publish the actual number so we can be a little bit more direct with our numbers when we're writing these letters to the editor. But in my estimate from my previous FOIAs, it's got to be $5 million. Okay, I don't think that is too far off on the numbers when it comes to how much we've spent in defense of this in state and federal court. And that's our tax dollars. Okay, so what's going to happen is, let's say, and this isn't a hypothetical, right, is if House Bill 3075 does go into fruition, becomes law, all of that, and there's enough changes in the language, it could render all of our arguments up to this point in Measure 114 mute. And so basically we're taking that money, we're lighting on fire. And so I think it's not good use of taxpayer resources to try something and try to do something in the legislature it's currently tied up in the appeals process. Okay, so this is not a good use of taxpayer resources, especially when you're going to be talking about raising taxes and raising fees across the board, because there's a shortfall. Okay, so just something to be mindful of, something to kind of put in your toolbox. This is something you could use as an argument there. Okay, so if you guys have any questions about this, what this can look like, please let me know. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. And so this video is going to be on my YouTube channel too. I can put the link in there. So if you guys want to share this outside of the group with your friends, I will put the link there from my YouTube channel, and you guys can share that there. And so letters to the editor, those are a great way for us to build information out into the public, also build support for our cause. Be very, be smart with your comments and your letters to the editor. Make us look good. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Represent your gun owners in a good way, in a good light. And so the next thing that we can do is we can be calling or emailing our representatives or senators, right? So I put all the information in the pinned comments up there, so you'll be able to know what district you're in, know your district, and then what you can do is you can send either an email directly to your representative or senator, or you can call them directly. Okay, my advice here, it's very, very important, is we have to build bridges up there. Okay, so now, we're so early in the game, it is not now is not the time to panic. Okay, so obviously we want to work with a sense of urgency, but the sky's not falling yet. Okay, I will keep you guys posted. I will let you know when it's time to circle the wagons. Okay, so when we're calling or emailing our representatives or senators, it's really important. You're going to be dealing with a staffer. Okay, a staffer, it's probably going to be a younger, it could be somebody in their 20s, could be somebody in college, could be somebody fresh out of college. So it's very important, and it's important to note that these are the gatekeepers. Okay, so they are the ones that are either going to pass you through to your senator or representative, or your information is going to just get deleted. Okay, this is especially true with an email. It's really easy for you to send an email and be really kind of radical and up in arms, and we're all passionate about this. I get it. I get the anger and the frustration. But the thing is when that comes across that inbox, there's a good chance they're just going to delete it and they're going to send it to a folder. It'll never be seen. So you're basically getting all jacked up on adrenaline for nothing. Okay. So my advice is obviously we're going to put House Bill 3075 in the title of the email. Okay. Be very respectful of your senator or your representative, and write, speak from your heart, talk about how this will impact you, how this will prevent you from being able to protect yourself and your family. For ladies, this is a really, permit to purchase. If you don't already have a gun and you're thinking about buying a gun, having to have a permit to purchase is just to buy your first firearm could be an issue. And so that's where, this is not truly about saving lives, because if it was, it would be easier for law abiding citizens to buy guns. Okay. We're not the ones committing these crimes. And so that's important to note. Okay. So, we can, and so currently where House Bill 3075 is and where it sits is it did get its first reading. Okay, so it's sitting on the president's desk. Okay, and it's waiting for an assignment. So what's going to happen is something this size and of this magnitude, typically if we're talking about the legislature, this would be assigned to a committee. Okay, so from the desk, it would be assigned to a committee, right? So since it's dealing with a law and it's also dealing, there's some financial implications to the state of Oregon. Most likely, it would go to Ways and Means for the financial aspect, or it could go to the Judiciary Committee there. Okay, because it has to deal with law. Okay, so that being said, depending on where it goes from, like, we're still in the beginning phases of this. So we don't know. I checked just a few minutes ago before I got in here, and it has not moved. So it has not got assigned a committee yet, which is good for us. Okay. That buys us some time. And so what's going to happen is once we get an assignment, let's say it goes to the judiciary hearing or committee, what they're going to do is they're going to start what's called a work session. Okay, work sessions open to the public. We can be up there, and it's a way, and it'll be online as well, so you guys can watch it at home if you can't make it. And so what it means there is, that's where they're going to talk about the verbiage and the way it works. And either they're going to work on it in that work session and try to tweak the verbiage and the language and clean it up, or they can make a recommendation for a passing vote. Okay, so what they're saying is, once they hear it in their little committee meeting. Okay, if they do recommend it come out of that hearing and go to the floor for a vote, that's going to be probably one of the first hurdles. Okay, what they can do is they could refer it to the floor and then schedule it for a public hearing. These are all things that happen. Okay, and so if it's scheduled for a public hearing, that's where we're going to be writing testimony. As soon as that opens up, I will let you know. We will need to bombard them and make sure we outwork the other side when it comes to writing our testimony on why this is a bad bill for Oregon residents. Okay, and so from there, it's going to go to a House floor vote or a public hearing, one of those two. And so then, like, if it gets scheduled for a public hearing, we can tell how serious they're going to be about trying to pass this thing through. And it's all going to come down to whether we can get involved and make sure that we're educating our neighbors, letting them know, blowing up those phones, blowing up their emails, obviously in a respectful way, but making our voices be heard. And so that's where part of this civics process is really, really important. And I know last thing we want to do after working a long day is to come home and write testimony or send an email or place a phone call and leave a voicemail for our representative or senators. But that truly is the only way we're going to be able to stop this. Okay. Well, they have a super majority. They can, if they wanted to be totally rude and jerks about it, they could just ram this thing through. It could go all the way to the governor's desk. Actually, the way it would work is it would pass the House and then would go over the Senate, and then it would have to go through the same process over there, and then it would go to the governor for her signature. It's an emergency clause, so it would go into effect immediately. So just something to think about. So worst case scenario, that's what potentially could happen. So that's where it's up to us, where we got to play our cards uh the way we can, and in a way that's effective, and so we're not tying up and wasting our time and spinning our wheels. And I know it's a daunting task. I mean, it really is, but I feel that if we do what we need to do on our end, we can be successful, and we can raise the alarm bells. We can shine a light on the fact that they're going to throw $5 million away that's already been wasted on Measure 114. They're going to throw that all away, and then we're going to have to start over, and then we're going to sue them again. Okay. I think that's the one thing that I would also put in there, but just be, respectful when you're putting it in there. Like, this has not faced constitutional muster yet. There's a good chance that it's going to be thrown out on appeal. Why are we wasting resources right now doing something that's potentially unconstitutional? Okay. That's where I'm at. Okay. If we are smart about the way let's say we have 1,500 people that submit testimony and we're all saying the same thing, right? It's all part of the record. We're talking about the waste of money, the waste of resources, the way that this thing is still tied up in court. So you're violating our due process right by not giving us the ability to challenge this in court as a collective. And so that's where, you know, no problem. No problem. Alberto, thanks for being here. And these are just my initial thoughts. And these are things that we can put into this. We can also put in, I mean, it depends on how deep you want to get into the response, right? Well, we're talking about testimony. Testimony, because it's going to be part of the public record. This one would probably be like, we're going to have two separate ways we're going to fight this. Okay. The way, and I'll get to you in 1 second, Dan, because you have a really great comment. The way we're going to be able to fight this is we're going to fight this by us contacting our representatives, our senators, our representatives, okay, having our voices be heard, right? And trying to build that bridge, build that connection with our representative. But that's not part of the public record. Okay. The part of the public record is when it opens up for testimony, and that's when we flood them and we say the same thing, right? Like, maybe I'll put together a poll where we can all have the same talking points, right? And we just hammer, hammer, hammer. And that's all part of the public record. And if we're all on the same page, coming at it from the same direction, where we're talking about the waste of $5 million in tax resources, the fact that this is still in live litigation and appeals, so there's a chance that this could get thrown out, and then they would have to start a lawsuit against 3075 if this goes into effect. And we should also maybe hammer on the fact that there's other open cases across the country that are relative. Like, there's one in Maryland. They're talking about permit to purchase in Maryland. There's a mag capacity ban in California that are waiting to hear at the federal level. So there's all these other cases that are going to work in our favor. And some of these are actually citing the Bruin decision and the Heller decision. So that's a good thing for us here in Oregon. And so, maybe if we're all to have the same talking points when we flood them with that, and that's all part of the public record, because we know what the other side's going to say. They're going to say this is about saving the kids. This is about, yada, 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 whatever smoke and mirrors they're going to come up with to make this look like this is a good bill. but the facts and reality is not on their side. And so that's where it's really, really important is if we are on our game, we can make a difference. And so, so Dan, so one thing to think about with the incoming AG, okay? That is Rayfield. He was the president of the Senate before he became AG. He is not our friend. Our best bet would have been to elect Will Lathrop, but he was very leery about talking to gun owners, and so he thought he could handle it on himself by himself, and he didn't win. So he didn't engage with gun owners. He didn't do anything to because I don't know why. I never had a conversation with him or his campaigns. I don't know why he didn't cite to get our help as gun owners, here. So, this is this is basically the way it looks like now is we're still arguing the fact that Measure 114 is against Oregon Constitution. We have not got clarity there. Okay, we have a good case and we're still waiting to hear, but we're doubling down on something that potentially could be unconstitutional again. So what they're doing, and we can look at this is a war of attrition. Okay. So they know that they have endless resources. They have your tax dollars. They don't care. They don't listen. They're going to do what gun grabbers do. Okay. So it's our job. Our job is to get smarter and air this out in the public arena, which is our letters to the editor, our neighbors, our friends. People know what's happening and having them contact their representatives and their senators. That's how we make this difference. And so it's a lot of work. I totally get it. And we have a long session. So we're going to be dealing with this stuff until July. Okay. So this is our life from now to July. Okay. So we have to be aware of that. And so just something to think about there is if we're not, I don't want to gas out too soon. That's why I want to be very strategic with my movements. Right now, if I'm checking the calendar, we should already be signed up for email alerts for 3075. Okay. There's some other bills that we should be watching too, but my focus, because this one is a really, really bad one, and they're really hell bent on passing it. This is why this one's taking more of my focus. So this could be a bait and switch. They could be just doing this to distract us and then come at us at a different angle with a different bill. That's totally doable. But I'm going to err on the side of caution because this is the one that could, put them in a position that they could really dunk on us and there's nothing that we can do about it. So besides sue them. And that's another thing is they should be mindful that we are going to sue. I don't know where that would come from, like the funding for that, but we'd probably have to crowd fund it. But if we're prevented from buying a firearm because this thing goes into effect, there's not going to be money spent on buying new firearms. So maybe we should put it towards a lawsuit. Just a thought, you'd think we'd already done that, but here we are. So that's kind of where we're at. It hasn't moved yet. It's probably going to move because they're not going to allow it to not go into effect. And so that's where, we just have to be smart and make sure that we're have good use of our time and resources. So does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? I'll try to keep everybody if I see any changes, I will keep you updated. I did write a blog post. I'm waiting for it to be published on my website that kind of lays out everything. So that could be a resource for people. Ultimately we have to write letters to the editor. It's not fun, but it's something that we have to do. And so, the only way, we lose when we're quiet. We lose when we're not part of this process, and that's what I advocate is we become part of the process and we make sure that our neighbors know, what's happening. And so, anybody can do this, right? So anybody can write your legislature. Anybody can write their senator, the representative. You can call up there, just be respectful. Okay. Because you're going to be dealing with somebody that's going to be probably new to the process, and they're ultimately the gatekeeper. Okay. So we got to make sure that for our voices to be heard, we have to be able to get through that process. So other than that, I don't want to take too much more of your time. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you stay up to date. I'll try to keep everybody as up to date as I possibly can. Just make sure you do your part. I'm going to do my part. And if you have any questions on how to do this, maybe we can do a video about what it looks like putting together your thoughts for a letter to the editor. And, obviously you got to keep it under, I believe, 500 words, which is pretty easy. You just talk about the facts. I mean, the facts are the facts. You come from a position of experience. You come from a position of, authority on the subject, and let that come out, and do it in a way that is receptive to others. Obviously don't come out there and, yell shall not be infringed, because, every law is an infringement if we look at it in the purest form. So when I come out shouting shall not be infringed, I lose my part of my audience. Obviously it will resonate with some, but I want to reach the ones in the middle. I want to reach the ones that are on the left that can support us, right? And so if I'm too aggressive with the messaging, I'm going to lose part of that base that I need. So it's a tricky situation. It's a lot to learn, and it's taken me years to learn all of this, and I'm glad I'm in a position where I can share it with you, and hopefully it helps. So please let me know. Let those FFLs know that House Bill 3075 is live. If you have a platform, get it out, get the information out there, share the information, and let your neighbors know that, maybe put the bill text. You can almost put the text side by side. I was going over it with Anthony today, and, obviously this is the new bill here, but there's just so much that is similar to Measure 114. There's been some changes because they know what's going to work and what's not going to work, but and they will have to clean this up in their committee meetings, and that's part of that process. And so, once we're there, we can just, keep rolling, so thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to let you guys go, get back to work, but I just want to just touch base. So let's focus on letters to the editor, right? Let's get those submitted. Hopefully they'll get printed. And if they get printed, then, we're going to publicize them as, give people ideas for them to write their letters to the editor. And, send emails to our representatives and our senators, and just be very cool about it. But let them know that you're not in support of 3075, and here's the reason why. And be very, very clear and specific about that. And I'll keep you up to date with what's happening, and, sign up for those email alerts. That'll really save you some time, because you'll know exactly where this thing's going to go, if it's going to go anywhere, and so we just, time's not on our side, unfortunately, because we have, until July for this thing to go away. So it's going to be a long couple of months. So don't gas out. We need you. We need every one of you, because we can't do this alone. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'll keep you up to date. I will put the link to this video so you guys can share it outside of the group, here in the comments, so you guys can share that. And also I'll have a blog post today that'll kind of lay it out. Where I'm at right now in my process is I'm in the information process. So basically what I'm doing is I'm creating content for people to read, to make it digestible, for them to understand what's at stake. And then what we'll do is we'll just keep adding little breadcrumbs to bring them along with us, and get them up to date, get them up to speed, and just continue the process until we can hopefully stop this stuff. So that's it. It's kind of a longer video. I'm just trying to get back into the swing of things. And so thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great day, and I will be in touch. Bye.